Press. I suspect it's in the other newspapers too. But do you think, in light of those revelations, that he should be removed from office? And we had 11 people said yes and 6 said no. All right. 11 said yes, he should be removed. You believe he misled the court and he should be removed, while 6 said no. All right. So that's our results today.
Interesting outcome. I think he's made it worse by that statement.
Yeah, he has. He has.
Just,
as
But
I said, the most disturbing
because
part
at the start of his statement, he did say because of the calls from the public in various sectors for more clarity on the situation, he made a further statement.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, there's pressure coming on him to clarify that situation. Because I mean, he relatively new to office. I think it's April or March he was installed, and now I don't know. As somebody who's a senior counsel, you know the importance of accuracy in an affidavit.
Yeah.
What was the final outcome, Wendell?
11 said yes and 6 said no.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the disturbing part for me, and I'll just quickly deal with it. He said, because I was on the move, and a lot of his statement stressed on his holiday, almost, I find it was a kind of little curious that during the tenor during his statement is that, listen, I'm on holiday. I was on holiday. I'm on the move. I'm on the move. I interrupted my holiday, A lot of his statement had that. But he said, I'll read this part. Because I was on the move on holiday, and given the urgency with which I was asked to sign the affidavit, and notwithstanding having no opportunity to locate a notary public, I was only able to sign and email the document to the acting attorney general on the 24th of April for transmission to the U.S. lawyers. I represented in my affidavit accurately what I had remembered being my involvement in the case. Armour stated affidavits were submitted in response to his affidavit late on April 26, 2 days after he had emailed his affidavit, and these were drawn to his attention on that very night. He was referring to supplemental affidavits from Quaitang Ferguson as well as Ragoobarsingh, who refuted his claim that he was a junior counsel. Armour stated he was still abroad on holiday. He went to say that he tried to immediately make a correction. This was the night before the disqualification application was due to be heard by the Miami judge. Upon reading those affidavits, I realized that my involvement in Mr. Quaitang's defense was more than I had recalled, and that I needed to clarify this so as to correct my affidavit urgently. That to me is what is disturbing.
What is disturbing to me is you are now the AG, the Attorney General of the country. And because of your role now, you're going to have to be involved in the prosecution of the case. I'm trying to be the state perspective, right? And you are asked for an affidavit regarding your involvement. So because of your experience in the legal fraternity, you know this is an inquiry into a possible conflict of interest. That's so, Richard? They're asking you for the affidavit to ascertain whether you have a material conflict of interest, right?
Yep.
So you know what they want to find out.
Yeah.
They want to find out how deeply were you involved. You can't say it didn't make. Come.
Yeah. If it's one time you'd remember and deal with it,
or on the side of caution. Because you know the material issue here is whether or not you are a potential subject of conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So you know what they're looking for.
Yeah, you can't go on affidavit. You can't go on an affidavit then and say, well, I was junior, a junior counsel, and my involvement wasn't.
Let me tell you something here. I think people respect Reginald Armour so much that they're going above and beyond, and me too, to give him benefit of the doubt. Because he commands, not so Richard, so much respect.
He absolutely does.
He does.
Because he still does command so much respect that people are going above and beyond, because this man has such a wonderful and astounding legal career. He's the epitome of integrity and thoroughness, and because of what he's been known to be about. And now it's like almost Reggie. You understand? So
I don't
people,
know.
it's really
also
unfortunate.
said, I therefore immediately told the acting attorney general that I wanted to correct the record by confirming that my involvement had been more extensive than I had previously recalled and stated. Armour stated that given the fact that affidavits in response had been filed the day before the hearing, he was confident that he would be given an opportunity to lodge a clarifying affidavit.
You know what? You know what's weird about it too.
Mm-hmm.
The clarification in yesterday's statement comes after everybody saying, "Boy, you was more involved."
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
And that you misled the court.
Boy, you was more involved.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is the part that kind of irks you, because I mean everybody said junior counsel, junior attorney, whether or not. I just say, boy, I was involved, and so I have to pass it on to an acting or somebody on behalf of this. I can't be involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where it probably should have ended.
And it would have ended.
Yeah.
It would have ended.
Yeah.
Do you know what other case might come up?
The acting attorney general who he replaced must have had a little kind of smoke. He might be saying, well, what kind of bacchanal is this? He might be saying, well, 7 years I didn't had no bacchanal except the...
I wouldn't say you had no bacchanal.
No, well, I was going to qualify it.
I wouldn't go so far.
I was going to qualify it.
Okay,
7 years
I wouldn't
ago,
go so far to all up.
my bacchanal was maturing with a high-powered rifle.
Oh, you know what's his children? He told you it was his children?
Oh, please.
He admitted it was his children?
The property that I rent into the state, even under the people's partnership.
One of my wife's property.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know. He said, but this is I had the small bacchanal, but there's big bacchanal. Anyway, let me leave Faris and Mr. Armour alone. I really don't have the time.
And all you have to call me back to represent all you in this.
Yeah, right back.
After all you unceremoniously kick me down to Minister of Local Government.
Yeah.
But in his way, kick him up, because, I mean, it's a big job now.
Yeah.
Local government is the linchpin of government's transformation process now.
Well, yes.
Let's talk about you know who made the news plenty this weekend too?
Who?
Kamal Georges.
Oh. Well, I get some kind of messages. I say, oh, my goodness. I say,
Kamal Georges jumped from the...
Not Kamal, man.
He jumped from the side of the stove, the corner of the stove, straight into the pot.
Yes.
The corner of the kitchen, you know, the corner of the kitchen. Quiet, nice little corner of the kitchen.
Yes.
Observing and reporting on the issues to straight into the middle of the pot.
Yeah.
$75,000 allegedly to go and...
I don't believe that. I refuse to believe that part. And I refuse to believe the other part of that same message. I'm sure you got it too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
People now going and message me to get it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
all I can tell you is that Kamal Georges get enough licks over this weekend.
I'm not sending
They
it for
create
nobody.
meme, they put Balizé on the tie.
Oh gosh. I'm not sending it for nobody because I don't believe it.
All of that took place, but I was oblivious.
He went from reported the news to being the most trending topic. Probably the second highest or the highest paid employee in TSTT.
Is that what
from
they said?
reporter to communications VP par excellence.
And this coming right after
into a beleaguered company.
This coming right after they sent him 300 and something people.
Yeah, 300. Okay, you're being conservative.
No, but is that true? I mean, I saw the goodbye on the CNC3 when he left the last night as an anchor. I don't know, it was nice, it was pleasant, touching, you know, that sort of thing. But then I heard people saying, I know it was inferred that he was going to TSTT, but I wasn't sure because I was asking somebody, actually, it was Hayden, I think.
I did that a month ago.
I said, I heard he's going TSTT, and the person said, TSTT, why? Isn't that company dying?
Exactly.
I'm like, well, I don't know if it's dying, but it's certainly going through whatever it's going through. Yeah. So is
transformation or reconfiguration?
So is it confirmed that he is going to TSTT, or is that still speculation?
No, he is going to TSTT, a senior position in TSTT, in the marketing and communications department.
Oh.
Well, certainly they didn't
They
communicate
said
anything.
they allegedly handpicked.
Well, that's the part of the email. That's the part of the message that was a little disturbing.
Why is it disturbing? Why is it disturbing, Wendell?
I said, not Kamal, man.
Because he was handpicked?
well,
Or pecked? Handpicked?
I am completely lost. So people who are watching on YouTube can look at my face and see that I am totally clueless.
What they say? What they say, Wendell? Wendell, what they say? Red man rule?
You are, boy, and he's one of the ultimate red men. Eh?
Red man rule?
But you saw him peeling a roasting a breadfruit, peeling a roast breadfruit. He did a video over the weekend.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, he's never come up in my stream before.
No, he's not neither me, and it came up.
And there he was peeling a roasted breadfruit, and I was like,
He roasted the breadfruit.
I know.
well,
I don't know if he was. I don't know if it was some symbolism.
Is it that he's showing his roasting prowess?
But I don't know if it was some kind of symbolism.
Yeah. Is it that he's showing his monumental ability to roast well?
well, I wasn't sure how come it came up in my stream, because he's never come up in my stream before.
Because he's now trending.
And
Yeah,
but it did come up in my
The
stream.
name is now being searched a lot, so it come up in different streams.
Okay,
It was a very limited stream before, but now the stream is wide.
It's expanded. Okay,
Expanding.
well that's interesting.
Wendell, the stream is expanding.
It is expanding.
Yeah, and so I mean, I know that people were saying that it was TSCT, but I wasn't sure. So I just said, well, whatever, he's moving on.
And yes, that has been part of the conversation. The company is restructuring, sending home hundreds of workers, saying that they're losing money and they have to borrow money. They secured a loan to pay off employees because they're restructuring. They now to about 600 or 700 employees, because they sent about 500, including a lot of senior staff, senior managers. And now they'd been asking a lot of questions as to what is his competence in. I know he just finished an MBA at Arthur Lockjack. And about a couple of months ago, because he posted it online, and what is his experience as a senior communications
Are
manager?
people inferring that it's a political appointment of some sort?
No, I think they
I didn't
went
get
a little
that.
further than that. Richard, let me find this thing and send it for you.
Don't-
You alone, eh?
Send it to him. Stop propagating erroneous information, Wendell. Stop
Because
doing
I am
that.
just wondering, because it will be disappointing for his career if it is political. Because remember, if governments change, it means anytime you're a political appointee, if governments change,
Well, it's not
Your-
a political. They're
your
suggesting
job tenure becomes,
he was. TSCT's management obviously hired him, and TSCT is 51% owned by the government. But there's supposed to be an insulation from government plucking somebody down in a position. The suggestion is that management handpicked him.
okay.
And of course, the board is appointed by the government, and the CEO is chosen by the board, approved by the board. Not so? So, and yes, there's a political nuance attached to it, and now he's being associated with the present government. But I mean, when you come from left field, when you come from left field into a position like that, there will be a lot of questions asked. Because is it a left field? It's going to be a left field appointment when confirmed. Because it has not been confirmed by
link said, though. I didn't see the government link. I didn't hear about that.
What link did you hear about?
I just sent it for Richard.
I just saw it, Wendell. And you see, we live on YouTube, so I can't I have to curtail my reaction.
You better do. Like that.
People watching us on YouTube will be like, let's zoom in on that.
I wonder if he's an expert in any sport.
Who?
Kamal?
Kamal never kick a lime in his life.
I don't know.
No, I think I see him play football already,
Well,
Kamal
you know what?
lived in St. James for years.
Good for him. Let him. He's jumped from the corner of the stove into the frying pan. It is when confirmed, it is a very high profile, controversial position in a company that is not doing well at all.
Yeah.
Not doing well at all.
Yeah.
And we are not sure why they're not doing well.
Well, we sure why they're not doing well. It's bad management.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend. It's just bad management. Really, really bad management. Decisions at a management level that have not worked in favor of the company at all. In an environment where a telecom company...
Is that the current management or the last management?
Well, a combination of all of them.
Yeah.
Because remember, the management changed recently from Dr. What's his name? To Misegad, right? So a lot of decisions that would have been made in the last almost 10 years would have contributed to where TSTT is today. And as I said, in an environment where telecom companies are seeing exponential growth. Not so? Yeah, which is this is what is shocking. People have gone online for the last 2.5 years using up data. Telecom companies around the world have capitalized this, including the TSTT's main competitor, Digicel, who are running blazing guns.
Yeah. After looking like they were about to shut down too.
Yeah, blazing guns.
They've recovered.
Well, Digicel globally had challenges, but Digicel locally has been doing well. You understand? And you wonder why TSTT is in all this trouble in this environment. So it's clearly management issues in TSTT.
Well, let's hope what they're doing, and if perchance Kamal is going there to make that difference, let's hope it works out. That's the most I could say at this
At
point.
75, you know, the one sees if that is his
I don't
salary.
believe that salary
If that is his salary, that is a matter of public knowledge. One signed there,
yeah. So I
and
don't
somebody is going to apply for freedom of information on that, and it has to be provided. You understand?
People
And
in
then there will
Unicode
have to be,
don't even work
there have to
for
be
that
a
kind of money.
justification as to why Kamal George is making more than the Prime Minister.
Now I'm saying people in Unicode and NGC and thing are making that kind of money.
Yeah,
So
there would
that
have to be a
worked out.
justification. If that is the case, there would have to be a justification.
TSTT has always had attractive salaries, huh?
Yeah, but $75,000.
In comparison to the rest
You're
of
right.
the public sector, TSTT has always had attractive. WASA also has fairly attractive salaries too in comparison to a lot of the rest of the public sector. I assume NGC does too, Wendell.
It depends on the
but
sector and how much money the sector
75,000
makes.
Richard, that sounds ridiculous.
No, it's not
No,
really.
actually, no. That level of management salary, if the company is doing well, is not unheard of. It's not unheard of. But there would have to be a justification at that level, because in NGC, NGC is a $1 billion company. A
That's
multi-instant. So depending on the sector, it could be justifiable. But I'm saying again, I'm sure if that is the case, because we have no confirmation that is the case, if it is confirmed, and it is going to come, that he's making $75,000 a month, they're going to ask, their questions are going to be asked. And you know, in the environment where public sector workers going home, the government is battling, these TPO is battling with the public sector workers about salary increases and renegotiations, you understand? Yeah, they're in two ways about it. But we'll see. I wish him well. Just hope he realize now that everything is under scrutiny now.
Yeah, and you know, as I say, Kamal has done a very good job at CNC3 for a number of years. I think, you know, he and I remember he and Goldali Bruce, they were doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, they made a really good news team.
Yeah, Golda left eventually, you know. She's still in trending though, because every now and then you'll see a post from her. And but I mean, maybe the offer was too good to be true.
Well, 75,000.
He ain't jump into a frying pan, he jumped into a roast pan.
Well,
and he show you one time where I can handle it, I peel that breadfruit like an expert, and he started to devour it. All that on the video, you know.
What video are you talking about, Wendell? There's a video now?
With him peeling the roast breadfruit and eating it.
Uh-huh.
You saw it?
I didn't see him. I saw him peeling it. I didn't see him. Yeah, did he eat it?
Yes, he eat it, yeah. And
and CWU, the union attached, well, the union represents most of TSCC's workers, sent out a release saying that they are in no way associated with or responsible for the ugly social media commentary that's going on regarding Kamal Georges and anyone at TSTT.
Yeah.
Well, I must admit that I did not see any of that. The only thing I have seen, there wasn't any confirmation for me that he was going to TSTT beyond what was shared in our group. And the only thing that I even saw remotely about him was that stream with the breadfruit. That was it. And I didn't really comment. I just looked at it and I said, "Oh, okay. Why is he in my stream?" And I just looked at it and I said, "Okay," and I moved on.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize there was some sort of social media. I don't want to say uproar, but social media interest in his appointment. I didn't know.
I don't think it was negative though. Most of what I saw was negative. People were actually.
It was mixed to me. Quite a bit of positive, quite a bit of negative with that I saw.
Everything is
not negative at him as much as TSTT.
Right. Well.
Yeah. Not negative at him. Quite frankly, as much as TSTT, the comments directed at Kamal Georges were quite positive about his work at CNC3 and in journalism. But a lot of the negative comments was at TSTT, and if they made this move, given what they say the state of the company is, and the supposed salary range that he's supposed to be procured at.
Well, that salary range was probably there before anyway.
Not from the person I knew who was there before.
Yeah. So how much more is it?
So is it that
substantially more?
Is it that the position he's getting is a new position or is an established position?
Well, it's a marketing communication position. Probably a VP marketing communication position, because at that level it can be a junior manager.
No,
it has to be an executive manager at that salary, at that supposed salary range, because we're still presuming that what is on social media is correct. The company has not made an official statement on that, nor the acquisition of Mr. Georges for any position in the company. But they will have to soon. Well, he ain't gonna leave CNC3 without signing a contract.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
I wish him the best of luck.
Exactly. I'm myself included. I think, good for the young man. And you know what? If you can negotiate that kind of salary, good for you, boy.
Yeah. No kidding, eh?
Tell us how you do it.
Yeah. I would be very interested to know.
Watch.
You're live on YouTube, you know.
I know. Being facetious, you know that.
Well, what else did you roast, Kamal?
No, here where you going. Here where you going. That is what put us in trouble.
You could have roasted marshmallows?
Let me close
my
camera briefly.
You're on your own. Follow Rochelle. You know, put yourself in trouble.
Why are you all switching around on my screen like that?
So we don't want to be next to you.
Hold on,
we don't want to be next to you.
I remain constant.
We don't want to be
just
for that statement. That statement you just made, they went over the line, man. Oh God.
What else? I got a question I asked, tongue in cheek. What else did you roast?
Probably lamb or chicken.
Exactly, or marshmallows.
Or marshmallows.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Almonds.
Pretty much it.
Didn't he was such a good cook?
Well, now we know.
What else is happening in it? Let's move over before we get in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh.
Starting today. Wrecking resumes into the capital.
That is so disappointing.
I'm waiting to see that. I saw people trending that. As far as I'm aware, that ain't happening. But let's wait and see.
Should we call the mayor? Find out?
You could.
Try.
You could call him. I think he's here. I think he's in the country. You can try him.
Let's see.
Or try the superintendent of police.
Oh, well, you understand that?
It has to be done by the police. Nobody else could go and wreck. The police has to do it.
Does the national police do it too, or is wrecking only governed by the municipal?
As a matter of fact, wrecking is governed by the national police. The school of thought is that let me hush while let me do say what I found out on national radio. but it is a police exercise. At the end of the day, it has to be sanctioned by the TTPS.
And the records have to be accompanied by police officers anyway.
Yeah, must be.
So it's a police exercise.
Yeah.
Now, who decides that the wrecking resumes? That's my question.
The city
Is it
corporation.
the city council or is it the TTPS? Or the
Well,
TTPS can't act without the city council saying, well, you may proceed.
Well, the city council could ask, but at the end of the day, the TTPS, the police, they have to implement.
I know.
Send that number for me, Wendell.
I know,
I'll do that.
but within the terms of the city of Port of Spain, is it that the TTPS can decide we are resuming wrecking?
I think they can.
Who pays
But
the
you-
record?
but
Or
you
is
see-
it a
you
city?
still have
It has to be
you still have
a collaborative decision between the city council and
The
TTPS.
record is split the money with the police.
The $500.
The police get part of it, yes.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
a collaborative effort.
Because-
If the corporation through the chambers, I guess a collaboration say, well, traffic is increasing in the city because we've back out and X and Y is the case and we need some sort of management, I guess they could ask the police to intervene and say start back wrecking.
Yeah.
What the
No,
police
the point I'm trying to make is, can the TTPS make that decision exclusively?
Well, it was two sets of wrecking that was taking place in the city. You know? I don't know if you
I know municipal city police
Right. And
And-
TTPS.
and TTPS.
Right.
So certainly the municipal city police, I would see coming under the ambit of the city council.
Right.
But the national police, do they need to have some sort of collaborative
No.
approval to
No.
resume wrecking in the city?
No, the police could do it on their own.
No, they could do that on their own.
Anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
If
could
they
do that
see
on their own.
as police, there's a traffic management issue. Without getting permission from nobody to resume wrecking, they will, I guess, as a courtesy, advise the corporation.
Yeah.
But if it is, and I'm going down the road that you all are saying, if it is that wrecking has been viewed by a lot of the citizenry as a hustle and a hustle on the part of the TTPS, because they get a portion of the receipts that for all intents and purposes, we don't know if it's going into the consolidated fund.
Yeah.
As far as we know, it's going into the TTPS, and for a lot of people, the perception is it's going to the police officer sitting down right there.
Yeah. It's extra duty, they call it.
Right. How can an agency responsible for the safety and security of citizens be allowed to engage in all, for all intents and purposes, in private enterprise in terms of making money personally without any regulatory control?
Yeah. I hear you. Loud and
But
clear.
I don't know that there's no regulatory control.
Well, it doesn't seem to be.
No, there is,
The
yeah.
TTPS
But are we
can.
sure it doesn't go into the consolidated fund?
No, it's here the breakdown. As far as I am aware. It's you collect $500 from the person whose car is wrecked. $300 goes to the
Wrecking
wrecker,
company.
right? I think it might be $200 going to the wrecking company or $300, and the rest goes to the TTPS. Now, the TTPS supposed now to pay their extra duty out of that money, and then I think the rest supposed to go towards the consult. That's how I
There's oversight on that money.
yeah, because
There's
you have to
oversight.
get a
It's not that you could take the money and do what you want with it.
No, you can't.
And they have to account for it when they're reporting.
Yeah. You have to account for it.
Well, I prefaced my entire statement by saying there is a perception by the citizenry that this is what happens.
Here where the
Hence-
perception lies, Richard.
Hence the aggressiveness of those wreckers and many times the injustice of who they have wrecked
Right.
and the non-discretion that is exercised in a lot of circumstances in a city that does not have enough parking, in a city where everything is congested and you have to come to Port of Spain to do a lot of stuff from across the country and all of those things. And even though there are objections from the business community to the issue of wrecking, which they think has in fact reduced the amount of people willing to patronize their businesses. So you have all of those competing interests in the city. And so that the mere idea that the TTPS could say, hey, let me get back into making sure we get some extra duty money. And that's all that it takes for it to start back, I find very curious and strange in a city that is governed by a mayor and a city council, and in fact, the capital of the country.
No, and that's where I think I need to correct that. The city police, they, as far as I'm aware, they're not in favor of it. They are not in favor of it. Okay? I could probably, that's why I sent the superintendent's number. He's not in favor.
I didn't get him. I got somebody else instead.
But I'm just saying the perception that you speak about in terms of the hustle was the $200 must be accounted for. So that has to go to in the TTPS coffers for whatever they need to deal with in terms of extra duty and moving on to whatever fund they have to account to. The part that was the gray area was the $300 that the wrecking company gets. Because remember, they are the one purchasing the wreckers. They are the one putting out the staff. They are the one out there driving and wrecking the cars, accompanied by a TTPS, a policeman, right? The gray area there was what they did with their $300. You understand? And that is where people will say
that's the operating cost, and the suggestion, because we have seen, but people have presumed that there have been times in the past where you've seen a monumental increase in wrecking coming up month ends. You understand?
Yeah.
Which of all of that feeds into the perception that people have. The burgesses of Port of Spain, the burgesses of any major city in Trinidad and Tobago where wrecking is very active. Now, I know there has been a pause through the whole COVID pandemic. There has been a pause on wrecking.
Prior to that, it started prior to that. I can tell you in the city, we had stopped long before COVID.
Okay.
Right? Because
So what is motivating Mr. Martinez then, as the mayor of Port of Spain, to restart it? Because he's made several attempts to restart it.
Yes.
And he seemed very interested in restarting it, even though I assume the burgesses of Port of Spain are not that anxious to see it.
The businessmen are not anxious for it. They don't want it. Doma doesn't want it for obvious reasons, because it affects their customers.
Yeah.
Right?
So if I know I come into Port of Spain and I cannot get a
Don't
parking,
want it. Schools don't want it.
I'm not going to come into Port of Spain, and most of the parking lots in Port of Spain already filled.
Well, that is probably not very true, because a lot of the major parking lots now don't have the kind of customer turnover that they had previously, because a lot of people now prefer to park on the street. So that is the other side of the coin. There are some business people don't want it, and there are some business people who want it, because they will benefit. Once they start a wreck, people have to head for a car park. Okay? So there are some people will want it, and there are some people will not. The Woodbrook people want it because it will keep the people away from some of their areas and blocking their gates and so on, right? So Woodbrook people will be in favor of it. There are some people now would say, no, I don't want wrecking, because I parking in front of my own gate, and this has happened. I've known people who park in front of their own gate and get wrecked, because the wrecker so
Recording
hustling.
in progress.
The wrecker so hustling that they come in, they see a car park in front of a driveway, then asking if that car belongs to that home, they're just wrecking it.
Yeah.
That has happened.
All right. Well, gentlemen, let's say good morning going out to the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. Jacobs. Good morning to you and welcome.
I mean, the acting.
Acting.
What did I say? I said acting. Didn't I say
Said
that?
assistant, sir.
Oh, acting. Sorry. Good morning, Mr. Jacobs. How are you?
Yeah, I said good morning to you and your listenership.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Yes, good morning. And I just heard some last words there about the wrecker, and I had a smile on my face in relation to it. You know.
Well, smile away.
Can you give us an update there? What's happening?
No, well,
What's the latest with reckoning so far as the city is expressing a desire to restart Reckon as of today.
The mayor is saying that was the city council.
Well, the mayor.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Jacobs.
No, before we even go there, I just want to add to the comment I heard when I came on air concerning the manner in how reckon should be done. Reckon should not be done in the manner that was stated there. You know, our standing orders and the law is clear in relation to reckon. Efforts should be made by the persons who are reckoning to identify the person who passed. And when the record personnel always work with our ticketing, I start the ticket book again because we have an electronic device, right? And they should be given a ticket and cause the vehicle to be removed. The ticket in itself, in most instances, is much more than the reckon fees unknowing to person. You know, so the question of the ticket should be issued. However, in most main commercial areas, it creates a difficult task for the police to go into buildings to look and search to find out who is the person who passed the vehicle there, because they themselves may cause even more obstruction when the wrecker is parked now and looking to locate someone. So they are between a rock and a hard place in conducting the work. And then when someone parked by dangerously at a corner, you know, just this morning I had a situation by Richmond Street where the bus trying to turn and a vehicle parked just on Richmond Street, on Richmond and Park. And the issue is, should now you go and look for that person, you know, or should it react immediately? So it's a judgment call that needs to be made by the persons who are working the record. But the ideal situation is that they identify who is the owner of the vehicle and issue them that ticket and force them to remove. But that is not really the idea. The idea is for us to be able to police the streets in a more effective way by having police presence, you know, so we can reach the point that when persons are going to park in areas that there's no parking, we can't prevent them from parking, but we cannot put up police officers at every corner. You know, and even though we have the traffic wardens to assist, it is virtually impossible to do that in a place like Port of Spain.
Now, Mr. Commissioner, what you would have heard me saying prior to you coming on here is a real situation, in that, because, and that is why the wrecking was seen as a hustle. Because in a lot of instances, that police officer would not come out of that vehicle. I saw it myself. The police officer wouldn't come out of the vehicle. The wrecker would back up on that vehicle, and in 2 seconds, they're gone with that vehicle. And I'm speaking about real experiences that I saw for myself in the St. James area, where people were wrecked in front of their own homes. So I wasn't making it up. There's an actual situation that I'm speaking about. So ideally, the police officer should come out and inquire. But in a lot of instances, those things weren't happening.
Yes, and I'm in agreement with you. Those things are wrong. You're supposed to come, and you're talking on now, moving from the city into a residential area where you have persons parked. It is obvious that someone can make a call the owner. That is totally different from when you come in the heart of the town where you have a lot of business places and commercial and commercial places existing in a residential area, because sometimes the owner of the house might be happy the police record come to wreck someone who is blocking the gateway. You know, so when you call out to them, they will be happy. So the rule is you're supposed to inquire, and if that was not being done, something that is in fact an infringement by the officers, and once we have that information, the necessary action tend to be taken. You know.
Who would have initiated the presumption of wrecking in Port of Spain, Commissioner? Good morning. Is it the police or the city corporation or collaboration of both?
It's a collaboration of both. The mayor and I had some discussion in relation to it, and it will be a collaborated approach between the municipal police and the TPS. They're supposed to have discussions in relation to it. Because of the holiday period that we had here, we will be having discussions by Tuesday of this week. So therefore, the reckoning in itself will not commence from today as stated. because there are some logistics that need to be worked out. The effective place when you wreck vehicles, where we put in the vehicles. We don't want to be putting the vehicles in such a way that it's difficult for persons to retrieve their vehicles. So we need to get a location that is accessible to the persons and wouldn't be at any risk to any individual. So I stand firm on that. So the me and I are working out that issue where we'll be given a particular car park within Porterston, which that is quite accessible to the person. And I am working it out where you'll have someone from the municipal police and the regular police working with the wrecker with certain standards. We'll let our operational centers with the CCTV cover things so that if we see they are behaving like what you're talking about, it will be on record that we can pull it up and deal with it accordingly.
What happens with that money?
Right? That money that we are dealing with will be going in the consolidated fund. A percentage of it, a small percentage, goes towards the if we are using a private wrecker, it is a portion goes towards the private wrecker. Is not a high percentage, but the other percentage goes into the consolidated fund. And that is when we, the TTPS, are actually doing the wrecking. And that is the reason why we are actually taking over the whole aspect of the wrecking so that our receipt books and everything will be used accordingly. So that other way how it was being done, from my understanding, will no longer be existing. It will be the TTPS taking control of the wrecking in the Port of Spain area.
So who decides what wrecker is used, Commissioner?
Wrecking company, you mean?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of deciding who wrecker is used. It's about which one of the private wrecker is used.
Right. Yes, that's what I mean.
Right. Well, I know there are records that is attached to the city corporation, and those records are the records that will be used as a custom working with the city corporation. What I want to give the public the assurance that we know as the police service is going into the direction of purchasing records. So the police service will have records. So the question of using the private persons will be a limited use, because if we purchase our own records and doing records with the police records, the question of suspected some sort of illicit activities taking place with the record will be eliminated. So I think that is the best way for us to go in relation to that aspect of wrecking. We need to get our own records as what existed 10 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah. But the corporation, the Port of Spain Corporation, actually owns two records, Mr. Commissioner.
Right. So those, and that's what I'm saying. Those are the records that we insist to use. Now remember, private records are used a lot because sometimes when we have stolen vehicles, we have vehicles which are abandoned and different locations. We don't have sufficient records within the police service and even the corporation to do that nature of that work. So we need to increase our fleet so that when we are dealing with the whole aspect of wrecking, we can manage it on our own.
All right, and so
I mean, Port of Spain is not a huge city by any standards, by the standard of big cities. It's not. It's a small city, and it seems as if the TTPS, from your conversation, is allocating a substantial amount of resources about making sure that people are parked properly. Is that the best use of police time and resources? Isn't there another way to manage the issue of indisciplined parking in the city without having to invest money in police records? And isn't the crime in the city of Port of Spain, the opportunistic crime, shouldn't that be more of a concern and more of an allocation of resources of the TTPS?
Right, and I'm in agreement with you, and that is the reason why we are making our officers beyond just traffic officers, like what we are doing with the traffic and highway patrol. Our officers who will be on patrol beat, their purpose will be multi-pronged. It wouldn't be just dealing with traffic issues, but any issues involving policing and safety of the personnel. So when the officers go out there, they will be aware of who are the pickpocketers. They will be aware of who are committing robberies, right? So they will be out there, and if you need to just be focusing on traffic violations per se. So therefore, we are not necessarily moving totally away from the pure traffic police officer per se, because we have the other agencies dealing with that, but we will have a better use of our resources, of our police officers when they are out there.
Because wrecking has always been a very negative PR issue for the TTPS. I don't know if you're aware of it, but it is. And I'm just wondering, well, just contextualizing what I just asked you about the issue of, and there are more important issues for the TTPS to be focusing on in the city of Port of Spain. But on a broader perspective, since it's collaborative, you have certain elements of the city of Port of Spain, and which is what I don't understand about governance and people in authority and agencies mandated with regulatory control of issues, not coming together to have a conversation. The business community obviously have a problem with the wrecking because it feels it affects their business, because you have a reluctance by people to come into Port of Spain. People are reluctant to come into Port of Spain, period, because of the crime issues. One, the opportunistic crime that occurs, and plus the issue of parking, and the issue that if I park wherever I think I can get a park, and I think it's a disciplined park, sometimes the signage is not there. The police come and say, well, we wreck you, and they say, but there was no sign. And you have all of these issues that erupt in the city of Port of Spain with regard to wrecking and those kinds of issues. I just don't understand why the city of Port of Spain, the TTPS, the business community can't come together and say, well, look, we are already in a city where so much of the services are concentrated. You have citizens who are coming in every day because they have to do business or do whatever they need to do. Why can't we decide, okay, for example, the issue of Saturday parking. Why is there no parking on a Saturday? When there is less people, and there's some signs that say no parking on a Saturday, even on R. Peter Avenue, I think. The issue, I know the DOMA has brought this up, of an easing of the traffic control on a Saturday to encourage business activity on a Saturday. But all of this goes on and on and on. And I mean, we have talked about this for years. It goes on and on and on, and it doesn't go anywhere. And it's like all of these people in all of these positions just can't have conversations to make life in the city easier for everyone.
Well, my response to it, and the Ministry of Works and Transport also need to be involved.
Absolutely.
Of signage in the different areas in the city is in fact the responsibility of the Ministry of Works and Transport, but they work in collaboration with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and there is in fact recently they re-established a committee with the Ministry of Works, which involve police officers and engineers and others. I think just about a month ago the minister did that. So that committee is responsible for overseeing exactly what you are talking about. The relationship with DOMA, I know that the police office always have a good relationship with DOMA from the time when I was the senior superintendent of Port of Spain Division, and we interact a lot. So there is no problem in us meeting and working things out together with the mayor. I know there were in fact meetings, and I think that we need to really get together. But one of the things that we don't want to encourage is really and truly indiscipline in the city. In the context of those small things that we ignore, create big things and give the wrong perception. So if the police are allowing persons to be parking on a corner, parking along next to a fire hydrant, when we have emergencies within the town, it will be detrimental to all of us. So it is necessary that we ensure that we have proper policing of the city and as it relates to parking and how we operate, because we just cannot let things go a begging. And the same thing,
Yeah.
persons will come and park and block the business places so that when they have the salespersons coming, they'll be unable to access.
Commissioner, we have just 15 minutes left, and we have two issues we need to get through. One, the issue of the police officers on video kicking the person they're trying to apprehend, and two, can you give us an update on how many murders actually occurred over this long weekend? There are different reports in different newspapers.
No, well, the report from Friday to yesterday, there were in fact 10 murders yesterday, and alone was the real hiatus, where we had about 5 murders yesterday, 2 double murders and a single murder on yesterday's date. And if you remember, we had another double murder in the area of Princess Town, also. So it's really had 10 murders over that 4-day period, that holiday period that we had there from Friday into this yesterday.
The newspapers are reporting they're primarily gang related. The issue of gangs and illegal guns, no doubt, are getting the attention of the police. What is driving this gang conflict? Have the police made the determination yet, an analysis yet?
Well, in relation to these, we have not concluded, but there is in fact some initial information. We know that in some instances there was some feud existing between the gangs over a period in the northern area over some aspects of drugs. We know that the double murder that we had yesterday, we know is also gang related. But the reason why they are rivaling against each other, it could be based on several things. So the intelligence persons will be able to enlighten us as we go along during the course of this week. But we know there are several issues existing among the gangs. There are warfare for all different reasons, and sometimes it's just some measure of revenge where someone was killed and they suspect that it's the other party who may have been responsible.
Mr. Commissioner, as you're referring to the issue of the gangs and so on, because I think you also said that a lot of the gang-related activities now happening when they go out. For instance, they go in these fetes, and when they're leaving, they're encountering whatever it is. Is it that the TTPS then would be monitoring situations like that? Because surely you know who they are. So could it be a question of monitoring them and even trailing them so that you would be on the spot when an incident like that would have happened?
Well, persons will know where we do something called duty of care, and duty of care is sometimes that our intelligence will have information of things that are happening, and sometimes we have no alternative but to inform aside whether or not they are gang members, yes or no. That here what happening. So will be happening, for them to secure themselves. We have to do it. Sometimes we have no alternative because we could provide. It's come like if we may be in a position where someone might say we providing protection for young persons. But sometimes they don't listen. And when they go in places, they will throw up where they are on the social media.
Yeah.
And when it's putting themselves live on social media, so the whole world will know where they are at the point in time. You see, what happened, we have now tightened up a lot of the areas that we have the gang violence occurring, making it difficult for certain activities to take place. And because of that, you will find that the other gang opposing persons will look to see when those persons come out of these areas that is fully secured by the police, to look to carry out their activities. So you are right, we need to do some monitoring of these persons to ensure that we don't have these occurrences, especially when you have these pets and some of the names of these pets itself attract a certain type of persons and behaviors. We have a whole system set up on our highways, and the first vehicle to respond was, in fact, our highway patrol personnel were able to respond. But the issue is that when we reach on a scene and we see someone is alive, our first priority in some instances is to, provide assistance to that person and rushed them to the hospital. So the patrol that arrived there first and then the other one arrived to assist was in fact now rushing that person to the hospital while they called for assistance with the other vehicles. So you always have that challenge that is existing when these things occur. But we need to develop our intelligence a bit more in order that we can now get a hang of what is going on and we can target these gangs and gang leaders in a particular way.
But would you say you're successful as the TCPS in because we've heard, and this question already predates your tenure as acting commissioner. We've heard for probably decades about police knowing he was associated with gangs. He was known to police. We have intelligence, and I stress intelligence, related to how many gangs exist, who are in the gangs, who are the big players in the gangs, but it doesn't seem to translate into evidence to, one, apprehend and charge the gang members. In some cases, you charge them and they're out on bail. What kind of progress is being made where that is concerned, getting the gang members off the streets?
Well, there are two aspects of the law. Number one, where you can actually charge persons for just being a gang member, just being a leader of a gang. That is where the challenge lies in order to develop. It takes a preponderance of evidence to just bring someone before the court to get them to charge for being a gang member. And you need to really and truly develop that. And that is where the weak area lies in how we gather our evidence and put things. But in the recent past, we have been very successful in relation to some gangs, in relation to human trafficking. You will recognize that within the last few months, we have charged persons as just being gang leaders when it comes to the aspect of human trafficking and being a gang member. Now, we have the other aspect that when we charge persons for various offenses, we can charge them because we realize it was gang activities. That is the one that we are more successful in. But the persons are there in that regard are more entitled to bail and to be out there. But the key is being able just to charge persons purely for being a gang member and being a gang leader and persons associated with gang. And that is where, we get the support from the NYPD. I had, Zoom meetings with the commissioner of the NYPD and through the U.S., there is someone who will be coming on and expert to work with our intelligence officers because that is where we need to build in order that we can, knowing all these persons, we can just arrest them and bring them before the court of being a gang member or being in charge of a gang.
Are you concerned? Are you concerned about the involvement of police officers in feeding information to gangs?
We are very, very concerned about that, and we in fact, at times we charge police officers. It may not be being gang members, but knowing that they may be involved in some aspects of it. Yes, we have generally across the board law enforcement officers. We have persons sometimes from the defense sources also linking with gangs.
How can they not be considered gang members? If I remember correctly, the law states collaborating with or facilitating gang activity can land you into the category of being a gang member, even if you're an officer or TT Defense Force officer.
Exactly, and you see, that is the reason I told you the preponderance of evidence that is required for that. Sometimes we say it's beyond reasonable, but I believe it's beyond a shadow of a doubt, the way how the law is couched. So that even though it's there, we need to carry it to that threshold that we can actually charge persons before the court. Because when you reach by the DPP will tell you, you all did well, but you all have not reached the threshold where we can actually charge the persons. So there's some additional rules that need to be done in order for us to reach that stage.
Commissioner, before we close off, could you give us an update on that incident that was recorded at the Queen's Park Savannah after that one of those fetes where police officers were seen kicking a young man on the ground, and what would have led to an incident? Because we're getting a lot of different reasons as to what would have led to that particular incident. And just let us know what is the situation with it.
Well, what is unfortunate is that, these footage are placed up and up there in the social media, but the footage that occurred before and sometimes even after, you don't really see it. And I am blaming us, the police service, in the context that our officers should be wearing the body cams. So when an incident happens, it could recorded from the start to the finish, and we don't have to depend on somebody's phone that put up something in the social media. That matter is under investigation right now by the Professional Standards Bureau and by our Complaints Division. And when the investigation is active, I don't really want to go further with it, but it is under investigation. But the key is getting those body cams out there and ensuring that our officers are aware the body cams. Because, as I said, it can assist them.
And what is the status of those body cams as standard operating procedure? You gave us an update some months ago as to acquiring more and making it, the regulations were finished and approved, the training was underway. What's the status of that?
Yeah, well, I told you that we purchased 1,100. Before that, with all the talk about body cams, we only had 160. And those 160, there were several challenges in relation to how long it can last out there before it needed to be recharged. So we purchased some new body cams. Now we have trained approximately around 558 police officers. We have distributed a few hundred. We have some challenges with our IT department in the context of some of the locations you need to have the rechargeable IT issue that when the persons return from patrol, they must be able to put it there to be recharged. So the IT now was putting in the infrastructure. So the infrastructure was not there. In spite of us talking about it months ago, years ago, the infrastructure. So we now need to be putting in, and that has slowed up the whole aspect of the training and the issuance of it. But we are working seriously to get it done because we want most, if not all, our frontline officers to be fitted with the body cams because it is a total aid to them, the general public, and to policing, and in order to gather evidence.
I'm glad you said that, but you mentioned a while ago, and yes, the footage that was put up on social media didn't show as much context as one would have liked the incidents leading up to what happened and certainly after. But is it standard operating procedure for an officer trying to apprehend and subdue a person of interest to kick the person while on the ground?
Well, I'll answer you like this. What I am doing right now is that in our use of force policy, we have things documented in what can be done and how it should be done. What we did not have is the illustrating to the police officers if you are going to take down someone.
Commissioner, with the greatest of respect, is kicking somebody on the ground part of police procedure?
It is not part of police procedure. However, it is difficult to answer in the context of if someone is out there and there's a actual physical fight between a police officer and a person who is fighting the police officer. In some circumstances, who can really judge the nicety of what action should be taken? No, I'm not going to that.
Commissioner, let me ask it in a different way. With the evidence that you saw on that video, do you support what you saw on that video with that police officer kicking that man on the ground? Is that part of the procedure? Let's forget everything else. Let's deal with that video.
I already said that is not part of the police procedure, and I will not support such actions, and I'm clear with it. But I am simply saying that what we are doing now is to do illustrations and videos for the police officers when they are to take down someone. These are the steps that need to be followed, because you'll notice that in some instances the police officers are very apprehensive in even instituting arrest, in even handcuffing persons, because even though there is a use of force policy, we need to make it much more practical for the police officers so they can go about their actions. But I am simply saying that whether or not you are police, a defense force person, if you are directly under attack by someone, I'm just saying, who can judge the niceties in what action that should be taken? But it is not normal police procedure for the police officers to be kicking someone who's on the ground.
Commissioner, in our last 2 minutes, can you give us an update on the investigations into persons alleged to be involved in abuses of children at the homes?
Well, I cannot at this stage give you some form of outcome. What I know that the investigation is going on, headed by Superintendent Guy Allen and team from the Special Victims Department. You know, I know that they have made certain recommendations, and I know that the investigation is active and ongoing. You know, I can get back that information for you probably in a few days if you call me back, but at this stage I don't have, you know, the information on how far they reach, but I know that the investigation is active.
I'll appreciate that. Commissioner, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate
Thank
your
you
time
so much,
and your
Commissioner.
contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon it's not starting today, right? You can confirm that.
Yeah, I confirm that it is not commencing today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Enjoy your cup of coffee, and we'll
Recording
chat
stopped.
soon.
Yeah, no problem at all.
All right. All the best to you. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, I got to run down news update, and then we got some time for this for Arthur Lockjack. Be right back. News starts right now. Bit late. All courtesy Champlain Auto Services.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Good morning with your news.